Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Sex, Lies, and Consciousness with your luscious hostess, May Vu, broadcasting live every Monday at 12 noon Pacific Time.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sex, Lies, and Consciousness. I am May Vu, and I feel so invigorated. Last week I was gone, and Deborah Snout had took over and did a show for us, and that was really wonderful to let go of the reins and come back in. And today I have one of my dear friends, Priyanka Mahendru from Dubai. I have a lot of friends in Dubai, and so I dragged them onto these shows with me. And she's going to talk about sex to make babies with me. She's in the middle of trying to get pregnant and conceive, and she's been wanting a child for a while now. So the journey is not smooth and easy, and there are lots for us to talk about. So welcome, Priyanka.
Thank you very much. I want to be introduced as luscious too, because I really like that. I almost saw you as this well-rounded, plump, sexy something.
So welcome, everyone, to my dear friend, my dear and luscious friend, Priyanka Mahendru, who is this well-rounded, plump, but gorgeous, beautiful woman who's trying to get pregnant.
I feel better already.
There you go, honey. Maybe you just need to put on more weight to get pregnant. How's that?
You know what? I have toyed with the idea. I've actually toyed with the idea of if I eat more, there'll be more nutrients, and it'll be like a comfortable nest. So I've actually toyed with that idea.
Right. So let's just go there. Like, how many things have you toyed with, whether they're sane or not sane, that would help in the chance of pregnancy?
So the first thing that comes to mind is, after sex is I put my legs up in the air. It's quite funny. I put my legs up in the air, and I'm still trying to figure out how many minutes I should do that for. Sometimes I actually fall asleep in that position. Because like I said, I don't know if I should do it for 2 or 20. So yes, I've actually fallen asleep sometimes in that position with my legs up in the air.
And I wonder if that really works, right? But I've heard that before, and I think I've seen it on sitcoms and on TV sitcoms too. So who knows?
Yeah, and it brought to me that we're not really told how to do this. No one ever tells us, okay, you can get it from a book, and then you have 10 different books saying 10 different things. But no one's ever had a discussion with me about what is the best position to have a baby in, Like maybe, I'm assuming, grandmother or someone wise would know, but no one ever has talked about that.
Right. Well, and what I'm hearing in what you're saying is it's like you're approaching it like there's a problem to solve, and there are solutions to this problem. Like the best position to have sex in, got to put your legs up by, for 7.8, 7 minutes and 30 seconds or something, like that formula so that you can ensure success.
And it's interesting you say that, but I think I've reached here. I wasn't always here. I wasn't in the place of, now I need to put my legs up and, what time and what anything. So because it didn't work automatically is where I've reached, so now what do I do to make this work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's that like?
Well, my husband calls it being on duty is what he calls it. He actually asked me, so when am I on duty next? And it's like this task that he has to perform every 2 days for the next 5 days. It's something like that. And the rest of the month is forgotten.
We're
living Absolutely. It's like he's loading up his gun, because he has to shoot consecutively, it's quite hilarious, but I should say shoot or whatever. Yeah, for 10 days, and it's almost like he's resting the rest of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And we're living from one ovulation period to the next.
Right. It's like I hear us talking about this, and I can hear us talking from a casual, from a tentative, kind of touching this, naming what is, but there's this layer of emotion that lurks underneath it, and I don't know what it is, but I can just feel it. It's like, what's this place really like for you? And how is it painful? Is it disappointing? Is it crazy making?
It's all of that. It's really there's excitement. There's hope. When we're having sex for the baby, there's hope. Because I'm hopeful generally, so there's a lot of hope, and then you don't get the result immediately. So there's a little bit of impatience as well, because you have to wait for an entire month after you've had sex in the right way to get to know whether it worked or not. So you wait for that month again with a sense of so much. There's dread, there's hope, there's impatience, there's fear. And sometimes it's almost like I don't want to know the result. Because I'll be disappointed.
Again,
yeah, and it's I remember the first time I took the test, the pregnancy test, and there was only one line, and I was just sitting in the washroom, and I just remember I think I sat there for a long while, and I was just sobbing. And I came out and I told my husband, you know what, I'm not pregnant. And all he said was, oh, we'll try again.
Yeah.
So it was almost like I lived that pain separately from him. And he kind of just said, you know what, we'll do it again. And that was it.
Yeah.
And then the first time was such a hard time because I think I went in this dark hole for about 3 days, where everything seemed just so hopeless. It just seemed dark and hopeless. And, I felt really alone in that hole because it felt like the intensity of how much I put into that first time was so much. The hope was so high, and to have that dashed. And then I kind of almost learned to hope less. The second time, and then the third time, and the fourth time.
You just give a different definition to hopeless.
Actually, hopeless. Yeah. Hopeless. Yeah. Maybe that's how you get to hopeless. When you hope lesser and lesser.
Oh my God, that's horrible.
Wow.
So it's like. To me, it's what as I'm hearing this, I had my journey toward pregnancy was that I was on the pill for most of my life, and the time where I mess up the pill, I get pregnant. I actually had an abortion before, and that was a journey on its own. But when we finally decided to get pregnant, I got off the pill. And I got pregnant right away, and it was just so easy. And then 8 weeks into it, I miscarried. And that's when I woke up and got really serious about the whole journey. It's like, whoa, this could be a little complicated. But luckily for me, it was just like after my body recuperated from that, I was pregnant again, and she's now 11 years old. So it's just I'm so grateful for such an easy peasy journey compared to yours and several other of my girlfriends who never got pregnant or who end up adopting their children. So it was just it's heart-wrenching, and supporting you guys along the way has been really scary on my end too. Just like really maintaining that hope, trying to maintain that hope for you guys as you hope less each time.
Yeah. Did you ever feel guilty about having it that easy?
I don't know if I felt guilty, but I always feel very shy of sharing my pregnancy journey with you. I haven't even shared it that much with you or with my other friends.
Yeah.
And even now, when I was talking about it on the show, I'm like, oh, I'm not sure. I don't know if I want to talk about that, you know, and how do I want to portray that journey so that I don't add to this thing.
Yeah. I was talking to someone about their journey, and they had been trying for, 6 or 7 years, and one of their best friends didn't tell her that she got pregnant because she knew that she's been trying for so long. So she actually hid it from her.
Yeah.
And the relationship actually fell apart because the girl who was trying to get pregnant felt like, how can you keep that from me?
Right.
You know, and the other girl was probably just thinking, oh, you know what, I don't want to hurt her. I want to be kind to her.
Yeah.
So it's almost like being treated like, you know, as once people start to know of your struggle, of your journey, and how challenging it is, being treated as what's the word? Not really vulnerable, but kind of
fragile.
Fragile. That's the word I was looking for. Just being treated as really fragile, you know. And almost like feeling that the other person can't be happy in your happiness because they don't have what you have.
Yeah. It's just so crazy. I mean, like, so far, what you touched on is, like, so sex has become a mechanical thing between you and your husband, and it actually also, like, in some way, drifted you guys apart every time that you don't get pregnant, and you sink into a hole, and he goes to, well, we'll try it next time. You know, like, there's such a gap in that connection. And then with your own girlfriend, it's like, well, I didn't have a problem getting pregnant. And then, you know, and it's, so that also could put a gap into that, too. So it's almost like you get more and more isolated.
Absolutely. And the more people find out about, you know, my or someone else's journey of this struggle, they don't know what to do with that information. You know, do they bring it up? Do they let it go? Do they ignore it? Kind of like the elephant that's standing in the room and no one's really acknowledging it.
Right.
So it's such a tricky place, and people don't talk about, you know, just simply, what do you need? Would you like me to bring it up or not? Just something as simple as that, you know, and you don't have to dance, this funny dance.
It's also like, I don't know how hopeful I should be around you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, oh, you'll get pregnant, don't worry, you know, would that irritate you? You know, or, well, you can always adopt, you know, that's the other one, right? It's like, we do the solution solving for you. It's like, you can always adopt. It's like, oh.
Absolutely. And you know what? My answer to that would change. It might be something right now, and it might be something different, like 2 months later and a year later, and it might change as well. So I might not be in the place to say this is how it is as a blanket.
Yeah.
So it is just being in conversation, like it's an open conversation that needs to continue being open, and not that now I know how it is to be with you and that's it.
Wow. I mean, I just get this visual, you know, it's like as each month goes by and you don't get pregnant, there's part of you that goes to hope less. And as you hope less, it feels like there's something shuts down a little bit more. And then as that happens, unconsciously, the relationship with the people around you kind of shuts down a little bit more, like tighten up, or, you know, well, we probably don't want to say that to her. Whatever, you know, so it shuts down some more. And yet what's really required is everyone involved to keep opening up into the conversation. Keep opening that conversation up. Keep opening this situation up.
Yeah, and what shows up for me when you say open is open your heart, you know. It's just open your heart to, for me to open my heart as well, and it's difficult for me to open my heart, and for the people around me as well to open their heart, because it's almost like you stop accessing your entire relationship because you can't talk about this, you can't talk about this, you can't share about this. So yeah, it's, you know, the artery just keeps getting clogged and clogged and clogged, and in the end, there won't be any blood going through eventually, you know, and then that's when you need to amputate in the end.
Right. Wow. So let's get back to the sex part of this thing. So, what do you notice the difference between the quality of the sex, or what is, you know, what does sex feel like to you when you're making baby, when you're trying to make baby, versus when you're having it?
Yeah. What comes to my mind is that, you know, if my husband will be saying that, so I like to hear dirty stuff, right? So if I'm going to ask him to say something dirty or think something dirty in my head, and I'd actually pause and say, is this the thought I want running in my head whilst I'm trying to have a baby? Or is that what I want my husband to be whispering in my ear whilst I'm trying to have a baby? You know, so there's almost like, you know, it needs to be almost clean and clinical and pure and angelic or something for me to have a baby. Almost like an immaculate conception is what I'm asking for, nearly at some level.
Oh my God, that is so real and so crazy. Right, but I could so relate to that. I could just see what you're saying. It's like, normally I like it when he talks dirty to me, and that turns me on, but we've been so conditioned to think that dirty is evil, is bad and wrong. So, but I'm trying to make a baby, so I should clean up all of that. I should clean up my act to make a pure baby.
Yeah, and it's almost like I actually imagine my baby listening to that. It's
right.
Like, no, I don't want my child to listen to that. Yeah.
Oh, my God, please. Well, yeah, I'm so glad I'm in your life. We're going to have to wipe that one off the slate. No, baby needs you to talk dirty.
And you know, you were asked about the sex, and for me, it's slightly different, and maybe for other women it's different. It's me who wants to have sex other than the baby making time, and it's my husband who's very, you know, focused literally from those 10 days to those 10 days, 30 days later. So I'm left with this, you know, but what about me and what about what I want feeling? And and with the mess that anyway people have in their relationships around sex, it's confusing and it's not clear and the boundaries are all mixed up, and, you know, am I too needy if I ask, and does he love me if he says no? With all of that mess, and then you add this confusion of, you know, we must do this for the baby and we mustn't do this for the baby. It's just a jumbled ball of mess.
Wow.
And how do you begin tearing that apart? I don't even know.
Wow. Wow. That's just so fascinating to me. And it's so real. It's like, yeah, of course, right? Somehow all of our expectations come into play, all of our how you should be, how he should be, what he should be doing, all that stuff comes to play. And then we make up some stories about what a baby really means, and so then we respond to that crazy story that we make up in our head about what it means to be parents, to have a baby, what does baby know, all this stuff that we made up. And then we lose the connection and the joy of sex, of conceiving.
Mhm. Yeah. It's like almost not being grounded, because the ground itself around sex is so unstable and unclear for me. And then to build something on that, it gets even more unstable.
Right. I'm just flabbergasted. I'm just like, wow, it's so complex and it's so confusing. And these two people, you and your husband, of anything in this time is a time of coming together so that you can make this child, and yet you're not. It's more like there's so many more things to pull you guys apart.
Mhm. Yep. Absolutely.
Oh, I just want to go boo.
And I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Well,
and it's almost. I'm sorry. Okay.
Keep going.
You go, May.
I'm letting you go.
Okay. So we live with like an extended family, and there's help in the family. So it's this making baby business is not just our business. It becomes the help's business as well, because she knows when I'm actually got my period or not. So. So my mother-in-law actually told me the other day, I was asking, I was just talking out loud and wondering if you were pregnant this month, because you said, you had a tummy ache or something, and the help told her, no, she's not pregnant, because, I know when she gets her period, so she just got her period, she's not pregnant. So it's almost like it's on display, the whole
right.
I'm not sure. It's not that's not what they're thinking. But for me, it's almost on display that the sex we had didn't work.
It's on display, been discussed, and debated over.
Yeah, that's what
evaluated
in my crazy
too.
head. Yeah, yeah. It's just.
It's so. I don't know what the word is. It's so sickening. It's so painful and so hard. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, it is. And it just feels so complex.
Right.
It's not as simple as, oh, I've been on the pill for so long, and you know what? When I get off it, that's when I'm going to have the baby. It's as simple. And then reality is another story. You get off, and you know what? It doesn't happen. And here I'm thinking, so all that while where I had to take the pill and put chemicals in my body so I wouldn't have baby. Actually, I didn't even need to do that, because my body isn't really. So what also comes is my body isn't really working well anyway. That's the other kind of side to that. But and for me, that's so connected with how I feel as a woman. It's almost like my womanhood is kind of being questioned by me, and I wonder, maybe even my husband and my mother-in-law
think
it's like
about you.
Yeah, and it's not them. It's actually things that I'm saying about me,
right.
which is like, this is what women are meant to do, right? This is what women come for, to have babies. That's the reason they're here, and to procreate. And even the sex that you have before is so that you get so good at it that it's kind of like practice for that final act, that final show,
Well, that's interesting that you just said that. Like, I've never thought of myself as that way. But when you said that, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. But oh my God, that's scary to think of it that way. Like, what is a woman for? A woman is just here to make babies. I'm just like, wow, is that all we're reduced down to? But over history, that's how women have been seen, treated, and this is our sense of value, right?
Yeah, and it brings me to this. In India there is a lot of female infanticide, and what in the ad, what comes to my mind is, in the ad they say, if they want women, where would the men be born from? So it's almost like that's what women are there for, right? So there's a sense of culture and genetics and history and, society that gives you that. And there's also this biological thing in me that tells me I want a baby. So it's all of that external message, but then there's this internal voice saying, it's almost like it's the cells of my body that are saying now, we want a baby. So it's like disappointing, and it's almost like I'm separate from my body, and I'm disappointed by my body, and I'm disappointing my body as well at the same time.
So you're looping the whole disappointment ride. I'm disappointed in my body is disappointed in me. Therefore, you're hopeless. Back to that again.
Yep. It's just, it's like there's so much going on in this place,
Yeah.
And women don't get to talk about this. They don't get to say it out loud to someone who just hear it instead of saying, okay, you're crazy, woman, just to say that.
Right. Oh, don't worry, you'll get pregnant. You can always adopt,
Yeah. Oh, we can always try next time. It's just that simple, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, honey, it's so weird because it's like I just remember how many times I would take a look at the stick, that pink stick, and going, oh God, please let it not be. And yet for you on your side, it's like, oh God, please let it be.
Yeah. And I was talking to someone else who was going through this, and she's extremely religious. She's Catholic, and she was saying it's so interesting, the things that we make up in our head. She was saying the reason I'm not getting pregnant is because God is punishing me, because when I was younger, I had an abortion.
That's crazy making, but I can see people doing that.
Yeah, and she so believed it.
That's so hurtful. I mean, what I'm hearing in what you're saying all along is that there's so many ways to hurt yourself emotionally in your head, right? Just because you're not pregnant, you're a failure of a woman, your body can't be trusted, your body's a failure, blah, blah, blah. And now she just tagged on that she's punished and she's deserving because she had an abortion.
Yeah. So she's actually at this point in time atoning for her sins so that maybe she'd be forgiven and she'd get pregnant.
Oh, honey, that's so sad.
It is.
That's even lonelier. Not only are you not getting what you want, but you're also like taking on this humongous punishment that is so not real.
Yeah, and it's almost like, so you don't have your husband because he doesn't get the whole thing. You don't really talk to your friends about it. You certainly don't talk to your parents or your family about it. And now even God's not on your side.
Oh.
So it's just like, wow.
And then I don't know if you get this too, but like it's kind of a long train of thought here for me, but like as I get older, I'm now 46, 47, I forget how old I am now, but anyway, to somewhere in there, somehow my body's changed, and I really can't hold my pee that well. Like I keep, like if I sneeze hard, I pee in my pants, kind of thing. Oh, and it's just so annoying. And of course, people, when I'm brave enough to share that with someone, they said, do Kegel. And after a while, I just want to punch them because I'm like, dude, I think Kegel was just created so that men or other people could feel less guilty that this is happening to women. It's like, and then it's something to make the woman feel even worse because it's like, well, obviously since you have that situation, then that means you didn't do Kegel. That means you weren't, exercising yourself and you didn't take care of yourself, and so blah blah blah. It's like the
sorry, what is that? What is that you're saying, May? What is you didn't what?
You didn't do Kegel, the whole Kegel exercise where you have to like squeeze your internal muscles down there, you know, like you're supposed to be exercising that. And so it's kind of like talking to a fat person, you know. It's like, well, you should exercise and eat less.
Sure.
So if you do Kegel, that won't happen. And it's just kind of like with you guys, it's like, well, if you put your feet up, you know, your legs up on the wall, and you do this and you do that, then you'll get pregnant. And the truth is, you don't get pregnant. You just don't get pregnant because you don't get pregnant. We don't know.
Yeah.
But we
Absolutely.
can stop beating ourselves up about it. So let me just take a quick break, and then we come back, and maybe we can talk about what you're seeing in other women, because I know that is something that you also now stepping into, is working with other couples who are who are trying to conceive, and also maybe I don't even know if there's a solution. That seems so weird that I'm asking for solutions, but I guess I'm feeling really like stuck in this situation, and I want a solution for you guys.
Yeah. Feels like a really heavy place, and then...
Is your marriage or relationship in crisis? Where one partner wants to expand into their sex and bring scary changes to the relationship, while the other partner is dug in, protective, and saying, no way in hell is this going to happen. May knows this place well, and she can help both sides. She is truly amazing. Learn more about her specialty, crisis coaching for couples and individuals, at sexliesandconsciousness.com.
Okay, we're back. And so tell us a little bit about what you've been getting as you talk to other women out there and their journey.
Every woman that I know knows at least one woman who has struggled with infertility. So it's like there's so much of there out there. And what really, really surprises me is that we still don't know how to have these conversations. We still don't know whether we should bring it up or not, and how to bring it up. So the one thing that, and I'm jumping to what you were saying about solutions, and it's not really a solution, but, just saying that if you don't know, just ask. Just ask the woman who's going through that how she wants to be talked to. Does she, so there's another thing that happens with women. So it's kind of in a double bind, where if you do this, you're stuck. If you do that, you're stuck. So there's also this question that women ask, the ones that are trying to get pregnant: do I share this with my friends that I'm trying to get pregnant? So on one hand, sharing it with their friends brings them closer, gives them the support that they need. And on the other hand, the friends then come back and ask, so are you pregnant? And then to have that question come back at you again and again when you know you're not pregnant is heartbreaking. Right. So it's like if you don't tell them you're alone, if you tell them, they'll come back and ask. So it's like, what do you do here? It's so simple. Ask what they need. So if someone entrusts you with this information that, I'm trying to get pregnant, ask them, would you like me to ask you every month, or would you just like me to back off? And, when you're ready to talk about it, you will.
Right. Well, what just hit me, too, is like this whole getting pregnant just becomes such a goal-oriented thing. And, when we are so goal-oriented about something, we kind of shoot ourselves in the foot kind of thing. It becomes the thing that's most important instead of the relationship between you and your husband, the relationship between you and your friends, all that stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the things that I have seen in every single woman that I've spoken to about this, is that it becomes this obsession nearly. I was speaking to someone else who was trying for 7 or 8 years, and they were trying IVF. And I think they had probably 8 cycles of IVF. That's quite a bit. And they only stopped because they ran out of money. That's the only reason they stopped. And apparently, I think she was telling me a figure which astounded me. So she would come to America for each IVF cycle. And she said, all our savings have finished. So at this point in time, they're rebuilding their savings to maybe try again. So, at what point do you say, okay, I'm going to stop? And at what time do you start noticing your life? Because for me, this happened, and I know this happens for so many women. You put everything on hold. The decision of what car to buy, the decision of even buying clothes. Do I buy this dress? It's a gorgeous, expensive dress, because I might get pregnant, and then I'm not going to fit in it. It's so funny, but when I went to London last, I actually bought shoes that will be comfortable for when I have a baby. Even though I was far from getting pregnant, So it's almost like every decision is around that baby who's not even there yet. And eventually your entire life, from your sex to what you eat, to your exercise, to your relationships, to how you feel, is defined by the baby or the lack of the baby. So this single-minded focus that on one hand can be fantastic, but on the other hand, it's almost like it destroys everything. Like you said, right? The sex becomes about the baby and not about the relationship, which is actually more important, right? That's why you're having the baby, because you're in that safe, loving relationship. But that's forgotten.
Yeah. It's like it's now about the baby, and it's not about the unification of you and your husband. It's not about the coming together. It's not about surrendering. It's all about fighting and achieving.
Yeah, and even if it is about coming together and loving, it is just for the baby. It's not for its own sake.
Wow. So what should it be for then?
I think just for its own sake, to just remember that you came together as a couple because you love each other and not because you wanted to make a baby. So just to remember that, just to recall that, just to kind of go back to and reclaim the other parts of your life, whether that's work, whether that's reading, whether it's going swimming, whether it's just taking a hobby that you've always loved.
So it's almost like there's a challenge in here. Like, do you want this enough? Do you want this so much that you're willing to let go?
Oh, that's one of the hardest things to do, right? To let go. It's so hard. Very, very hard. Because everyone tells you to do that.
Focus on it, to let go. Right, to let go. Like, when I said that, I just felt really stupid. I just kind of like, let go? How do you let go? Let go of what?
Yeah. Because when you go to the doctor, the gynecologist, they'll say, Jaime, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. The gynecologist will say, you need to relax. I mean, I've heard this. I know every woman who's gone to the gynecologist for a baby is said, you need to relax. How do I do that again? No one ever talks about how to do that. How do you do that? Because...
It makes me think of the whole having children journey. Because in some way, I think you have more practice to being parents than we do when we just jump in, pop out a baby, off we run kind of thing into parenthood. But it's like everything that you talked about, like stay focused on your relationship with your husband, not just make the baby so much the center of everything. That's like one of the biggie things that was really hard for me to learn. In fact, I don't think I did a very good job of learning that, putting my relationship with my husband first versus the baby first. And then don't make up stuff. Don't make up stuff about purity, about babies, because, Jesus Christ, if you put that onto the baby, that kid is going to grow up all screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
Like allowing your dirty self to be part of it, allowing freedom, allowing for your realness, your full authenticity into it.
Yeah, as you say that, I almost feel freer, not so bound up.
Yeah. What are you getting from that?
Just what comes from me, it's a part of what I was saying earlier, which is, giving space to your whole being. And part of your being is that, is that fun, naughty, whatever. And so just giving that room as well.
Yeah. Oh, and take away this whole thing about you're not worthy of a woman unless you can produce a child, because that's crazy making. Because now you're going to translate that when you have a child, you're going to translate that into I'm not worthy of a person unless I'm a good mother, unless my daughter achieves, blah 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 blah. That's kind of crazy making too.
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard women say with so much conviction, that it's almost like, wow, that's, they say, I want to be a mother. Mm-hmm. There's so much strength in that it's almost like, wow, and everything else is not even important,
Mm.
So that conviction kind of really bowls me over sometimes. And they won't even go to the place of, do I even want to be a mother? Like, to even question that, because it's just passed on, right? You go to school, you go to college, you get a job, you get married, you have children. It's just like this cycle that we're supposed to follow. Do we even pause for a second and say, do I want to get married? Do I want a baby?
Yeah. And why do I want to be a mother?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people's reasons are really kind of lopsided there, too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And so there's it's such a rich place here, to explore. And it's so connected with not just, trying for that baby, but it's so connected with who we are with ourselves as human beings.
I was just going to ask you that. What are you discovering yourself as a human being as you go through this journey of wanting a baby and can't have it yet?
I'm discovering patience.
Say more.
It's so funny. I actually wrote about this just today. I'm discovering, or I'm trying to find, and how when the universe plants a seed, that they give it the space.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a trust that all that seed needs will be there for it to grow into a tree.
Mm.
And it doesn't keep checking, is this seed sown? Is it growing? Is it growing roots and shoots? It doesn't keep checking that. It just gives it the time and the space that it needs to become what it needs to become.
Right. Well, and at the same time, there's the other side to it too, honey, which is, and if that seed doesn't take and it just wither up and die, it's just wither up and dies. Nobody's sense of worth is tied into that, and some other seed will grow. So there's a whole, I don't know, for a human, it's a demand of unattachment.
Yeah, absolutely. Or of letting go, which is what you were saying earlier, of letting go. And it's not just, so it's about how you let go as a human being, and it's not just about the baby. You know, it's about how, if I learn to let go here, then I can learn to let go with my husband. I can learn to let go at work. I can learn to let go with my other relationships. And what will show up here will be the stuff that shows up everywhere else.
Right. So it's patience, acceptance, and let go.
And you know, there's a huge part about loving yourself and nurturing yourself and taking care of yourself, whether you can be this mother or not, whether this body will give you this child or not.
Yeah.
You know, just learning to see how much this body's given, how much it served you, how beautifully it continues to serve you.
Yeah. I had a client a long time ago who went through the IVF thing, and I was supporting her through that. And oh my God, that poor body with getting injected into the belly part and the side part and all this stuff, and just so much that even talking about it brought up pain in her body. Her poor body, so much to try to make that baby, and I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just, you know, and compassion, even though it might not happen, right?
Yeah. And, like, please don't take on this crazy thought that other people are judging you for not having a baby. No one is judging you for not having a baby. I mean, I hear this often from my clients who don't have kids and who want it. They're like, oh, you know, people are judging me. I'm not a good enough woman because I can't produce a child. It's like, no, that's your crazy making.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that there's, you know, for me, there is something to explore there, that what makes a woman, you know. If I was to really write that definition, somewhere in that definition would be being a mother, but that will be one of the several things. Yeah. And just to remember that it's just one of the several things. And when this baby making becomes bigger, it takes over everything else, you know. Right. So just to go back to that list and saying, wow, it's just one of the things on my list.
Oh, thank you so much for having this conversation with me. This is just lovely. It's touching and it's tender, and it's such a vulnerable journey that you're on. And I also see how well you're traveling on this journey.
Thank you. It's actually been a great journey. I don't know where I'll end up, but it really has been a great journey, and I'm sure it will continue to be. And thank you for giving me the space here to speak, and for other women to hear as well, that all that stuff that goes on with them is not just them alone.
Yeah. Tell them a little bit about what you do, honey, so that they can find you.
So I coach women who are going through infertility. I coach them through all this crazy stuff that's going on, you know, and there is so much research out there that talks about the mind-body connection, and how you think about this and how you feel about this affects what happens to your body as well. So, and I'm not saying at all that, you know, if you deal with it, you will have the baby. What I'm saying is that despite the outcome of this journey, let's make it a journey that you enjoy, a journey that you learn from, a journey that, you know, you get to grow from. So that's what I offer.
It sounds to me like it's a journey that you grow into your womanhood instead of letting the journey rob you of your womanhood.
Absolutely. Beautifully said, May. Yeah.
Yeah. And so how do they find you? Do you have a website, or do you want them to just contact me and get a hold of you, or how?
Sure. For now, I am going to be putting up a website, but that might be a few months away. So I'm wondering, can we put my email maybe, May, somewhere that they could reach to?
Sure, I'll put it on the front of the show thing. Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
So thank you for giving me the space.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to Sex, Lies, and Consciousness. My goal is to create conversation around sex, relationships, busting up our lives, and raising our consciousness so that we can have our sex back. Own it, play with it, have power over it, and let it fully serve us. Bring us joy and freedom into our life. I will talk to you all next time. Namaste.
Do you want more sex, lies, and consciousness? Access our archives at sexliesandconsciousness.com. While you're there, please leave your comments or suggestions for the show and participate in current SLC conversations with other listeners worldwide.